currently working on, or that I've been teaching Marty over the last, like, honestly, it's probably been a full year, was sit pretty. So when he sits, he'll come back up on his little butt and pull his front feet up. So sit pretty, or begging, however you want to refer to it. It has actually been pretty tricky for him to learn for a couple reasons. One, and I'd say probably the biggest, was me, because I wasn't practicing that often. You know, I'd practice like every other week, every couple of weeks, just because I wanted him to learn it, but I wasn't super committed to him learning it in any time frame. So we would just work on it now and again. But when you're ready to learn this trick, it's pretty straightforward. You do have to have a nice square sit. So if you have a dog that likes to kind of slouch off to the side, you got to work on making sure they sit nice and square, because they need to be able to keep their balance on their hips. And sitting square requires strong and balanced muscles. So if they're sitting and slouching off to the side, that generally indicates that their hip muscles aren't super strong, or they have imbalances in those muscles. So if you're going to ask for a behavior like this, or try and teach this type of behavior, you do need to have that strength built up in their hips. So whenever you're ready to start teaching this, you ask for a nice square sit, and you just bring the treat up, good boy, over their heads, and they're going to pop up a little bit. And essentially this behavior, you just slowly try and get a little more lift every time you're teaching it. So we got one follow up, we got two up. And he does know this, so that's why he just offered that. But it took him a long time to kind of figure that out, and it was just sort of slowly pulling it up a little higher each time until I was able to get consistent lift. And the thing with this behavior is it's not just getting them to figure out what you're asking, it's also building up those muscles, because, ready? Pretty good. That requires a lot of ab behavior for your dog, and it's not a behavior a lot of dogs do just on their own. Some do, and some will pick it up really quick. That's not a typical behavior for Marty, so it took him a while to kind of figure out, hey, how do I engage my abs to kind of lift up my upper body? How does my back work? So it's a good core work for your dog. Pretty good. And requires a lot of balance, because you're asking the dog to balance on their hocks and their hips, which again is not super normal. Most of the time when dogs want to lift up, they stand up on their back legs versus just kind of resting on their hips. So very easy to start teaching, but will take them a little while to start figuring it out. And just like any type of training, make sure you go slowly. You know, be patient with your dog, give them time to kind of figure this stuff out.